Anything.
You can. I'm sorry.
General comment.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah?
Okay. Diana Gonzalez, Clark, New Jersey. I just want to reintroduce myself. I think the first time I came here, there were 3 people that spoke on the proposed reservoir project. Since then, we have really organized, and I'm serving as an organizer for the Clark Reservoir Committee. Today, I just wanted to say maybe like 3 points. The first point is thank you for arranging the meeting on July 2nd. It was a great opportunity for the residents to express how they felt. I was very encouraged that everyone kept it very professional, respectful, and I hope that we can continue that dialogue in that vein. The second item I wanted to make mention of is our Reservoir Committee has a page on social media. We've been door knocking and talking to residents. People reach out to us on Messenger, by phone, and we've been collecting the feedback. And we actually have a draft proposal that we've been iterating through with our committee because we want to make sure that it's really comprehensive and representative of all the feedback that we've been getting. And I'd like to submit that to you formally in the coming days or weeks, when we really feel like it's buttoned up and have an opportunity to talk to you about it. And I guess the third item I wanted to bring up today is through dialogue with our committee, somebody was looking at CME projects, and they do beautiful projects. Just yesterday, in fact, I walked at Spring Lake in South Plainfield because my daughter plays volleyball, so I went for a walk. Almost passed out from the heat, but beautiful park. And I enjoy Esposito and Oak Ridge and Roe Park, terrific parks. But in our conversation, it really helped me pinpoint what it was that sat wrong with us, and that is that the Clark Wildlife and Nature Preserve is different from any of these other parks, right? It's not an urban park, it's not a park, it is a nature preserve and a wildlife refuge. And so then I started doing a search online to see other nature preserves and wildlife refuge. And if you do, I invite you all to do that search. What you'll see is there's a theme when you look at these nature preserves. They're very peaceful. They have limited structures. It's more unstructured. You'll see woods, maybe water, wildlife observation, maybe wooden boardwalks, things of that nature. So I'd like to ask you to take that into consideration as you revise the plan. One very good example, if you've ever been to the Great Swamp, I've been there, I've enjoyed walking through there. That is a nature preserve. I would propose that as the North Star for this project. I think that would be more fitting to what is in Clark. It's a gem in Union County. We'd like to see that preserved. When we submit our proposal, you'll see some things in there. What's clear is what residents do want is dredging of the reservoir. We'd like to see it aerated so that it doesn't become a problem again in the future. And then passive recreation. And that passive recreation is really defined as non-invasive walkways for residents and perhaps a fishing pier and maybe some kayaking, right? Anything beyond that feels like it's not fitting into the nature preserve and wildlife refuge. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alan Swanson. I live in New Providence. I'm the chair of the Loantaka group of the Sierra Club, which represents most of Union County and most of Morris County and a couple of other adjoining towns. I'm on the executive committee of the Sierra Club for the state, and I've found out about this project not too long ago and got involved. Have walked the area, the St. Agnes Forest area, been to some of the homes of the people living around the reservoir. And I just wanted to say that in looking at the properties in the area, and representing the Sierra Club, it's important as you look at this in the future to consider the impact that changing the existing forest will have on climate. One of the things that we push in the state, and I've been pushing a lot in a number of towns in the area, are climate action plans for towns. And there are a few that have them in the state. And one of the things that they do is they make it, every decision that they make, they take into account the impact on the environment. And all that I'm asking tonight is, as you move forward in considering this, to be sure that you make a high priority the impact on the environment. And at this point, the project in the St. Agnes Forest area is a project that we would be opposed to in the Sierra Club. It doesn't make sense to be spending money on taking down old growth forest and putting in especially things like synthetic ice rinks. I don't need to go elaborate more. It's just the point is that that's really, that aspect of the project is invasive, and the impact is negative to the point where it really should be reconsidered. And that, as has been stated, and as they present to you the plan, these really great people who are working on this in that area, they recognize that this is an area that would benefit people to have access to, but the access needs to be non-intrusive and to have a minimal impact on the climate, especially given that in our area that there just aren't that many old growth areas like this that are available. So that's really all I needed to say, and I look forward to how you're processing and considering this development in the future. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Pranita Bijlani. I live in Rahway. I'm a Rahway resident, and I've come to urge the Union County Commissioners to heed the voices of the many area residents who spoke with great passion and concern at the July 2nd presentation meeting and revise the proposed development plan to remove all active recreational components, including the deforestation of St. Agnes's Forest, to build the electric train and depot, the carousel building, the clock tower, the skating rink, etc. The very vast majority of residents in Union County oppose this, and also oppose the 10-foot wide asphalt pathways with additional 2 feet of timbers on either side that come within feet of residents' homes, invading their privacy and sense of security. I would entreat the commissioners to have greater imagination with what can be done with the $43 million that is in line with the era in which we live. It's a time of catastrophic climate change and devastating declines in biodiversity and bioabundance on our planet. And it's a great opportunity. We had so many young people in here. I'm a school teacher myself. It's a great opportunity to bring young voices into the conversation, maybe younger designers who have a sense, a tremendous understanding and vision of how supporting and expanding ecosystems rather than tearing them down benefits both humans and nature in mutualistic ways. Maybe it's, a new vision for the planning and design of this, how this money will be used. Perhaps the plan could be reimagined to use the money for more green infrastructure in other parks in Union County, perhaps adding trees and expanding forested areas in other areas, especially vulnerable areas vulnerable to flooding and so on. Perhaps adding new pollinator gardens to other parks, community gardens, nature signage, educating children about the flora and fauna around them, all of which would be aligned with the purposes of the grant as I understand it. you were just presenting scholarships and certificates to many children, and they represent future generations. I know many of the proposed amenities are designed to entertain children and provide recreational activities for families. As a school teacher for 30 years, I can tell you that more than any carousel, choo-choo train, or skating rink, children are mesmerized and fascinated by wildlife and nature. These younger generations are also profoundly aware of the degradation of the environment and habitats of animals. The children of Union County will be acutely aware of the displacement of animals and will mourn the losses of seeing the beauty of a bald eagle in the treetops, a fox scampering by the reservoir, deer lingering at the edge of the woods. What more magical classroom, what better learning experience than living, breathing organisms in their natural environment? What amazing opportunities for children to ask questions and learn about the interconnections between species and be inspired to learn more about ecology, biology, and natural systems. Adults often forget the magic and wonder of nature until in the presence of children. At the beginning of every school year, I ask my students to write about what concerns them about our world, community, or school. I would say 70% of them write about deforestation, animals losing homes, air, water, land pollution, extreme weather, and climate change. In other activities, unprompted, they write grim visions of an ecologically devastated future where people have to wear spacesuits and where many animal and plant species have gone extinct. Let's do our best to protect our children's futures and make sure the few remaining woods and natural places here in Union County are kept intact for future generations. I want to express my deep gratitude to the Union County Commissioners for listening to my ideas and concerns. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Claire Labruno, Clark, New Jersey. Sorry. Good evening. I would like to thank the county for organizing the July 2nd Reservoir Project presentation in Clark. In particular, I would like to thank Mr. Oatman for his presence at the presentation. The location and the time of the meeting allowed for greater community participation, and I am aware that there are residents from at least 7 Union County towns in attendance. There are 3 points from the meeting that I would like to address. First, the proposal presented on July 2nd was not on public display before the meeting. While I applaud the county for making updates in response to public feedback, and I appreciate that this is an evolving plan, and I acknowledge that the county website now reflects this with the verbiage concept plan subject to change, by presenting a modified plan that was not previously displayed, a meeting which I would assume was intended to not only be informative, but to assuage public concerns, perhaps raised concerns over a lack of transparency. The county's contract with CME, page 5, which I have here, states that, quote, at a minimum, the following meeting shall be required. I'll skip to bullet item 3, which says 2 open house public meetings with the general public, user groups, stakeholders, and Clark officials, end quote. It is curious that this meeting was not held when permits were submitted to the DEP in April, or even before then, to receive public input. I request that before the next open house public meeting, whenever it should be held, the most updated version of the map and project proposal be made publicly available at least a week in advance on the Union County website, and the map be publicly displayed in Clark Town Hall and this administration building. Second, I feel the need to put on the record that the public noticed all the, and I would deem them as PR changes, made to the public-facing version of the map dated 6/28/24. The grayscale, the items removed from the legend, the removal of so many details from the map, such as the riparian zone, the hall sites, the number of parking spots, etc. I will also mention the inconsistencies, such as the 8-foot walkways denoted on the map and legend, while the walkway detail still shows a 10-foot walkway with 2 foot of railroad tie edging on each side, therefore requiring 14 feet of clearance. In the future, I am asking for more transparency, not less information. Third, during the public comment section, I stated that I noticed that the proposal presented was not the proposal previously on display, and asked if the change management documents would be made public. To be clear, I was asking for the revised document logs and change order log. Mr. McSellan's response was that the main change was a storm water management basement. When I repeated my question, I was told I could call him and he would walk me through the changes. At the end of the meeting, I collected his card. Frankly, this was not an acceptable answer. Even if county processes would allow for him to respond to me, it would be an enormous waste of public resources. I created my own log where I noted over 20 changes between the publicly displayed plan dated 9/27/23 and the more recent plan dated 6/28/24. As CME is contracted by the county, I am requesting that the county requires a revised document log and change order log to be publicly available. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening, and thank you for your consideration to my requests.
How you doing? Name's Ron Ordner, Clark, New Jersey. Been a Union County resident most of my life. Grew up down in Elizabethport. Clark resident past 14, 15 years. Really appreciate the meeting on July 2nd. It was probably more people I've ever seen at any meeting before in Clark by far. One thing that I want you to keep an eye on is, I do have my notes. Sorry about that. Is do you know if there was a wildlife assessment done by CME during this time? And if not, is there a more detailed county stormwater management plan? Because there was a management plan online from 2009 that shows that the reservoir is the reservoir was either moderately or severely impaired, and that was 15 years ago. So I want to make sure that we do put the dredging of the reservoir as a priority. I know it's expensive, but I want to make sure that gets a priority on that. And then, like I said, I appreciate everybody working with us. Your opening remarks today kind of made me feel good. I was getting ready to leave. Going to go over to Valencia and get something to eat, but figure I'm going to sit here first and talk. But now I'm going to go eat. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gloria Binkowski. I'm from Plainfield. I'm here to speak about two environmental issues in Union County which are connected. First, the Clark Reservoir project. I'm hoping that you will restrict your project to remediating the water body and abandon your other plans to take down many trees, to pave over the land, to erect a carousel, the clock tower, and a kiddie train. Is there anyone who thinks there's too much undeveloped land in this county? Anyone? I don't think so. Understand that undeveloped land has value to everyone. On July 2nd, the residents of Clark spoke eloquently about the project. I watched it on their TV station. They spoke eloquently and politely about the project. And not only the residents, but individuals from environmental groups too. I think the fellow from the Sierra Club. It's ridiculous, not mincing words, that the county should have even considered this project. Whose idea was it? Which, if carried out, would despoil a nice, relatively untouched area of Union County. Once touched, it's not coming back, and it would be wrong. You, the commissioners, apparently have just been giving lip service to conservation of the environment. You need to go home and write 100 times Undeveloped land is good, and then take it to heart. Please. And I think that I have green on tonight. I didn't have a t-shirt, but I have my green leaves. A second environmental concern related to the Clark Reservoir is wildlife, who are displaced by development of natural areas in this county. And this is happening more and more. Union County for the last 30 years has had a deer kill, which largely has been carried out and incited by the hunting lobby in Union County. Many of the hunting people are in Union County employees or closely connected. And residents have been bamboozled, and maybe you too, thinking that, oh, this is what we must do. We must kill these deer. And they're killed in a cruel fashion. They're killed by crossbow. People are convinced or talked into thinking that deer are a threat to human health and are a big factor in the spread of Lyme disease. That's been discounted by institutions like Rutgers University and Harvard University. And then people say, well, what about deer and car accidents? Well, in Plainfield, my neighbor and I Oprah this with the city, and really the number of deer-related accidents in Plainfield is low, much lower than human car and interactions. By now, people should accept that deer are in the environment and adjust their behavior to deer being there, just their planting and put up fences, that sort of thing. We are seeing more deer because there's less of their natural habitat. Killing deer doesn't work because when deer are killed, there's a rebound. They have twins, they have triplets. And as I said, they're killed by crossbow, which is a particularly cruel kind of kill. After some investigation into Union County practices via Oprah, I came up with just a few things I'm going to mention. By their own accounts, and this is in Union County, Oprah, the hunters have said that killing deer by crossbow is very inaccurate. Many deer are injured, don't die, but have to live with arrows impaled in them. And the percent is quite high. As an example, and this isn't the first one, on December 1st, 2023, Facebook lit up with many reports by residents of 2 deer
Thank you.
killed by arrows.
It's the time limit. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. My name's Christina DeLuisa. I live in Clark, New Jersey. I wanted to first thank you for coming on July 2nd, again, for the information session and listening to all of the residents and their concerns. And I don't want to go back over all of the things that they said. I know that you all know that there is an environmental issue with taking down trees and putting in pavement that's impervious to rain. So I'm not going to go over that, but I do want to just voice my opposition to some of the features that you want to put in the area behind St. Agnes Church. Like my fellow residents, we would like you to preserve that area for wildlife and nature. So no trains, no carousel, no skating rink. And I'm not sure if anyone realizes there's a synthetic skating rink right up the street on Madison Hill Road at the elementary school. So there's already one accessible to the public right up the street. No concession stand. And when you tell people not to do stuff, it's good to offer alternatives. So some of the alternatives that I thought that you could put instead of those things that wouldn't harm the nature would preserve are things like a fishing pier, a bird watching area similar to the one that they have at the Great Swamp. My husband and I are big birding people. I'm fortunate enough to live right across the street from the reservoir, and I get to see the bald eagle dive down into the reservoir and catch fish. And it's totally awesome, and I'm sure every kid in this county would love to come and watch that happen. We have osprey, we have red-tailed hawks, we have lots of birds of prey that come and feed off that reservoir, and it's really cool to watch, and I can't imagine any kid wouldn't want to see that in person. If it gets us excited as adults, I can only imagine the kids seeing it. Instead of paved trails, maybe behind St. Agnes to put in raised boardwalk trails as to not disturb the existing wildlife and nature. Along the trails, like you've done in other county parks like Warrenacre and Railway Park, I see that on the trees. You have QR codes with information about the trees and some of the other wildlife that's in those parks, which is great. There's no reason why we can't do that and make it more of an educational setting rather than just, choo-choo trains and carousels. There's lots of places in New Jersey parents can take their kids that already have that stuff. And my friends have kids, they go to the boardwalk and they take their kids on all the rides. They don't go to nature preserves to do that. You go to a nature preserve to enjoy and respect the wildlife. So that was my alternative ideas for behind St. Agnes. As for the boat ramp, I'm a resident of Wendell Place, so I am opposed to the boat ramp that they want to put at the end of Wendell Place. Not only am I against, obviously removing more trees and creating more pavement, but that corner down there where you want to put that parking lot and boat ramp, there are a lot of kids. Wendell Place and Lefferts Lane is like a huge cul-de-sac, and right at that corner, we have a very high population of children that are outside all the time in the summer. They're playing in the streets, they're on their scooters, they're all over the place. And to open up that area where people have purchased these homes knowing that their kids would be safe in the street, now we're opening this up to the public to invite traffic to come to these areas. I just don't think that that's a very good idea. And I would ask that the county maybe, instead of, if you need emergency access to that portion of the reservoir, maybe put it across the reservoir at the end of Riverside Drive behind Bartell Field. And am I allowed to ask a question? Have there been any environmental studies done? And if so, do we have access to them?
We answer questions at the end.
Oh,
after
okay,
everyone.
I'm sorry. And my other question is, when will we hear of any updated plans now that you've heard feedback from the residents on the July 2nd meeting and also tonight? At what point will we hear any feedback? Those were my two questions.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Susanna Savelli from Clark. Thank you for letting me speak here tonight. I've spoken before. I'm trying to not to repeat some of the things I've said before. As everybody said, thank you for coming to the meeting in Clark on July 2nd to allow more of the residents to be able to speak up. I would like, just as the lady right before me says, would like to hear the feedback from you guys on what, as a result of that meeting, what happened. Is there anything that has changed from the proposal that was laid out to us during that meeting? I understand that there's money on the table that you guys would like to use, but besides the needs of dredging and aeration, let's really only spend the money on things that can improve people's lives and improve the environment, not to ruin it. Let's improve life for everyone by leaving the very rare wildlife habitat and preserves that we have in Union County. There's not too many of these. Let's not ruin them. Let's build upon this whole area by adding more trees, by removing all the dead ones, by cleaning up all the swamps if you want to spend money on it. Let's not build this big loop that required walkways to be built next to people's backyards. Supposedly, that was the premise of the project, was to build a loop. So therefore, all these bridges and these walkways behind people's backyards has to be built. Why? Maybe that part should be canceled. And with the extreme heat wave, as you all know, we are all experiencing it together, climate change is really hurting us. So why are we trying to kill more trees and cut down more trees? We should add trees instead. So let's not cut down trees and forests to build kiddie trains and carousels and ice rings. If you must build them in Oak Ridge Park, which is only a mile away. It used to be a golf course. It's all flat land. So we're not cutting down trees to build these things if you must build them. I agree with a lot of people who says that we really don't need those things. We need other things instead. So let's really reconsider all those active things that you want to put in, the kiddie trains, the carousels, and all that, and move them to somewhere else where you're not cutting down trees at least. Or maybe we don't need them at all. And the portion of the project off at the end of a residential street, Wendell Place, with that boat ramp and the parking lot. Once again, we are killing trees and cutting down trees to put in parking lots. And then you put it into the middle of the woods, off at the end of a residential street with this boat ramp. To me, you're asking for trouble as far as safety is concerned. Can you imagine if there's a dead end of a street in the middle of the woods and there's a parking lot? Don't you think that there's young people going to be loitering, littering, underage drinking, people horse playing, and there's a boat ramp there, you can get pushed into the water? Why are we trying to set up a setting that encourage these things to happen? And also, all these things that we are building that's beyond the passive recreations require maintenance. Which means even though you have money on the table right now to spend for capital spending, we are all, as taxpayers, going to be incurring forever increased taxes to maintain these things. And I think our taxes are already way too high. Let's not spend capital that requires maintenance. Let's do things that's not going to incur any more maintenance costs in the future. We have heard from maintenance people at county parks that they are already stretched. If we have to hire more people to do all this maintenance, it means our tax is going to go up. So please consider all these variables and really cut down the scope of these projects to what must be done and what could be done to help people and help the environment, not to hurt people or the environment. Thank you for listening.
Can you hear me? I'm Ann Friedman. I live in Westfield. I live behind Tamaqua Park, and I enjoy nature out my back door. I'm here representing some supportive neighbors in Scotch Plains and Westfield who want to preserve nature and support the Clark Reservoir Committee. I also wear a professional hat. I have over 30 years experience as a professional planner, and I was kind of surprised at the July 2nd meeting because this project is due to receive a lot of federal funds, and most federally funded projects require community outreach. And although there had been some, I could tell from the comments from the people behind me that there really hadn't been much of a dialogue. There had been a little bit, but there could be more. So for instance, right now, I'm working on a project in Queens, the Jamaica Bus Depot that the MTA is constructing. And there are actually monthly meetings with the people who live around the bus depot. It's on Zoom, so it doesn't inconvenience people. And the people running the project, the engineers and the MTA people, work very well with the neighbors, and they do take their comments seriously. So I think that might be a good model going forward, to have meetings with the neighbors. I don't mean meetings like this that are basically formal, but working meetings, people can work out their differences and come to a middle ground. And finally, I wear a new hat, and that is of a new grandma. So I have a 6-month-old grandson, and when he comes to visit me, if he wants to go on a train, I know there's a nice one at the Turtleback Zoo, so we'll go there, but the rest of the time we'll spend with nature in our backyard. Thank you.
Good evening. I just, Ty Zomer. I do live on Wendell Place. I do want to voice my objection to the proposed cutting down of trees at the end of Wendell Place in place of a parking lot and a boat ramp. I'm not supportive of the increased traffic on my street. I do have young children, 3-year-old and soon to be 2-year-old. I've been living in Clark for, I want to say, since 2016 on Wendell Place. Before that, I lived in the Bronx, and I was fortunate enough to live in the Bronx right behind Bronx Park, which is a beautiful, gorgeous park. And part of the beauty is the wooded area. So you can just walk, and it's paths, just natural paths, and it's just gorgeous. And when I came here, I was pleasantly surprised to see that I have this literally in my backyard. So I can go out on my deck and just look at the reservoir. I've seen 3 bald eagles circle above my home. I posted it on Facebook. But to not echo again what everyone else has said, I do want to bring a different point. On July 5th, 4th of July weekend, very quiet, 5 o'clock, I came home from work, and I hear buzzing sounds of chainsaws. And I was very unnerved, was what I felt, because of everything that's going on here. And I sent my husband to investigate. Oh, before I did that, I did call Clark Police. And of course, it was close to 5. The response I got from the Clark Police Department was, this is a Union County park. Let them deal with it. I got transferred. And I don't know who I spoke with, but the woman said, oh, it's probably shade tree. And I got hung up. My information wasn't taken or anything. And I know it's a preserve, but I don't think most of Clark neighbors know it's a preserve. So I have a video looking across the reservoir, seeing a tree just topple down. And this went on for about 30 minutes. So I just wanted to share that experience. I was not happy with it, and I don't know if there's further ways we can communicate the fact that it is a preserve, and the fact that this happened, the tree went down, and nobody cared. I was very upset. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Everybody. My name's Clea Carchia. I'm Executive Director of the Rahway River Watershed Association. I have all kinds of things I was going to say, but most of the people said a lot of it already. I just wanted to express our board's feeling about this plan. We are all for the passive recreation part of it. We are for the trail, but I see how the concept of it and the idea of it is really upsetting to a lot of the residents, so I think that's something that should be respected. And whatever kind of trail is constructed, it should be minimal and not intrusive, and respect the privacy of the residents around the reservoir. Again, we're for passive recreation, such as boat launches, but again, so many people don't really like that one near that. But I know there are plans for other boat launches, boat ramps. So maybe there could be a compromise where at least one is put in an area where there's no objections. That's what the compromise is all about. We've talked about climate change. We've talked about, nobody's mentioned it, but the heat island effect we have here is the increased temperature in urbanized areas due to lack of tree canopy. There's so little left, and it's getting so hot. I'm not saying that, you know, Union County is causing global warming, but every little bit of trees that we take down increases the temperature of the surrounding areas. So I think it's really important to keep as many as we can. I just want to, it's going to be corny, but I want to read a quote by our 26th president, Theodore Roosevelt. The nation behaves well if it treats the natural resources as assets which must be turned over to the next generation, increased and not impaired in value. As president from 1901 to 1909, Roosevelt was responsible for creating 5 new national parks and permanently protecting 230 million acres. A Union County press release from December 3rd, 2021 mentioned conservation areas that promote healthy biodiversity and pledged the restoration of the Clark Reservoir will serve as our generation's legacy for the future. We look forward to supporting that vision and urge the county to do the right thing. Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank the attendees that were at the July 2nd meeting in Clark.
Can you please state your name?
Oh, sure. Julia Collins, Clark, New Jersey, a 60-year resident of Clark. The county manager, Oatman, county council, Bergen, Victoria Drake, Durbin Drake, administrator for the open space and recreation, blah, blah, and some of the Union County employees. I was concerned about the headwater area. On the original plan, that was the only plan that was available to us at our town hall. It indicated that the Hall Road would come out over onto the area by Old Raritan Road. I just wanted to make mention that if that is the area, which it doesn't appear to be on the new map, that area has a daycare center, a seniors housing, Featherbed Lane School, and that area there, you know, you shouldn't, we were subject to the area where we live when they remediated Hyatt Hills Golf Course, and we had that smell for a long time. People that live in the area of the headwater area, they should not be subject to the smells of the debris and the vegetation. I'm all for the dredging. That area, I've been to it many times, looking at how the vegetation has taken over the waterway, and that should be the first concern, is the dredging. Also on the new map, they have that the reduction of this parking spaces from 32 to 14. And they have moved the county maintenance building over to closer to the area where the fishing dock will, the boat dock will be. And if this is going to be another boat ramp, why are they reducing the amount of spaces when there probably will be county trucks? I don't even know if the county is going to be involved in the removal and the hauling of the debris. And will the debris stay there? And how long will it stay? And will the DEP be monitoring the piles if they are there like they are in Cranford at 750 Walnut? They have to be monitored by the DEP. Thank you.